Dead by Daylight is a 4 versus 1 game in which 4 survivors compete against one killer in order to escape their entity. The entity is a malevolent creature that creates the realm in which these games take place, giving killers certain powers and removing some of it to make it more fair. Now, even if you intend to only play a killer or survivor, I recommend watching the full video in order to know how to combat the other. The role of the survivor is pretty easy. Complete 5 generators and open the exit gate. However, the killer is there to thwart you at every turn. They'll try and hit you and place you on the hook. They need to hit you twice in order to down you, which lets them pick you up. If you escape the killer once you've been hit once, another survivor can heal you, but be careful. There are skill checks here, and if you fail, not only will the meter decrease, but a loud sound of pain will also emit. Now, once you're on the hook, you usually have to wait for another survivor to rescue you. You are able to try and wriggle off the hook, but the chance of it being successful is just 4%. You can up this chance with perks, but we'll go over perks another day. If the killer is camping you, which means not leaving you alone on the hook, you can unhook yourself with a 100% chance of getting off. When someone is hooked, they'll be highlighted in red. Another survivor will usually have to come rescue them. There are 3 stages to being hooked, but I'll explain those in the killer section. When you look at the player icons, there are different symbols. There are 2 lines next to the icons. When they are lit up, this indicates the stage of hooking they are on. If there are scratches over them, the survivor is injured. If they are laying down, then they have been knocked down. If they're being carried, they have this symbol, and if they're being hooked, they have this symbol. If their face is replaced by a skull, it means the player is dead. If they have this symbol, it means they are currently being chased by the killer. Finally, if they have this symbol, be careful. It means they are the killer's obsession, which means the killer may get a bonus if they down or hit this player. Now, to complete generators, you will need to hold down the suggested button. When you are doing it, you'll be occasionally given skill checks. A sound will go off before the skill check begins. You will need to press the indicated button when the line is inside the grey area. If you manage to get the white area, you will get a bonus in the progress. If you get it inside the grey, nothing will happen. However, if you fail the skill check, 3 things will happen. The generator will explode, which kicks you off the generator, a large sound will lure the killer over, and finally, you will receive a small penalty in your progress bar. Make sure you don't get caught by the killer whilst on the generator, as you'll immediately get picked up. If you end up being chased by the killer, you need to make sure you make the most of your environment. This includes jumping through windows, which the killer is slower than you at doing, pulling down a pallet onto a killer, which stuns them, or using a pallet to block a route, which the killer will then have to brake to pass through. Remember, the killer is faster than you, so you need to find as many ways as possible to stall for time. Finally, when all 5 generators have been completed, the exit gate will appear. You will see it for a few seconds on the map, and you need to head towards it. Just be mindful of the killer. To open it, you need to press the button to open the door. It will take about 20 seconds of actively pressing the lever for the door to open. Once it's open, all the remaining survivors can run out. In a pinch, you can try and drag yourself on the floor to it too. There are totems as well. If the totem isn't glowing, then it's not infected and only gives you a few points when you cleanse it. If it's glowing, cleanse it as it means the killer has some bonus against you. If it's blue, then leave it, it's helping you. If you are the last survivor, you don't need to wait for the exit gate to appear, regardless of the remaining generators. A hatch will spawn, which is an exit that you do not have to open, you simply jump through. You can find it either using the map item, more of this on day 9, or by listening to the sound. The louder it is, the closer you are. Be careful. If the killer reaches it first, they'll close it, which forces you to have to go to an exit gate. If you were the final survivor and there are still generators, the exit gates will still spawn in, but it makes your escape a lot harder. The role of the killer is to eliminate the survivors. Now, ideally, you need to take out all 4 of them, but the goal is to just take out as many as possible. To do this, you need to hit them with your weapon, or use your skill. Don't worry, we'll go into more detail on this on day 2 and how to counter them on day 9. Now, once you have hit the survivor twice, you will pick them up and put them on the hook. Be careful, if you take too long, the survivor can wiggle out from your hold, which will stun you and let them get away. Once the survivor is on the hook, a timer will start. This timer has 2 stages. The first stage, which is above the halfway mark, means the survivor can be hooked once more without dying. The second stage, below this, means the survivor will instantly be killed upon being hooked again. If a survivor is taken off the hook at the first stage, they will then be on the second stage upon being hooked once more. A key note here, do not camp the hook, which means stand next to it until the survivor gets down. Not only is it toxic, but if you stand there for too long, the survivor will be able to unhook themselves. The easiest way to track your victims, especially newer players, is to follow the red scratch marks on the ground. These will only appear when a survivor is running. The other strategy is to look for the generators. Often, a survivor will be found around them. If a survivor is injured, listen for grunts of pain, especially if a healing skill check has failed. Otherwise, just keep your eyes peeled and check lockers, which survivors can hide in. If you catch a survivor in a locker, you'll immediately pick them up. If the survivor runs into the locker instead of walking in, they'll make a loud noise notification as well. Now, try and avoid pallets. As earlier discussed, they can stun you and also block your way. Survivors will often try and bait you forwards. Don't fall for it. Play mind games to get to them. Remember, you are faster than them, and they are only trying to stall you. An important note, if a survivor jumps over a pallet, you'll get a noise notification. You'll also get a notification if a survivor fails a skill check on a generator. Speaking of generators, if you find a generator with progress, kick it. It will reduce some of the generator progress and also cause it to regress until the survivors repair it to a certain point. When you first get the game, you'll be taken through a few short tutorials so you can practice a little against bots. Remember all these skills and you'll be quickly moving into games. So, what is a chase? A chase is the term for when the killer is actively, chasing you. When doing so, the killer can sometimes have special abilities. As a newbie or someone revising how to play, all you need to do is focus on getting away. Something useful for your chase is the heartbeat system, called the terror radius. A good idea is to turn on visual heartbeats, as it makes it easier to tell. The louder the heartbeat is, and the more clear it is, the closer the killer is. Just be careful, depending on the killer, they can have a smaller or even non-existent terror radius, so try and keep an eye out. Unless someone is already being chased, it's often a good idea to hide just out of sight until the heartbeat reduces significantly. If you're going to hide, however, don't run there and be careful with the grunts of pain. If you run, scratch marks will mark your path for 10 seconds. To run a chase well, you need to learn to always keep an eye on the killer. You can run as much as you want, but if the killer suddenly turns on you and you don't see, that's an immediate game over. Now, to do this, there's a trick that may need practicing. I'm going to teach you a sequence. When you're getting ready to look behind you, you're going to hover your finger over the S key. When you want to look behind, you're going to hold both the W and S keys, and then once you've done this, you're going to spin your camera around and let go of the W key. Do the opposite to return to your regular view. In doing this, you can keep running while looking at the killer. This allows you to predict the killer's moves so they can't pull any sneaky moves on you. The next thing to use to your advantage is windows. If you use them correctly, you can get a good boost ahead of the killer. Vaulting through the window has 3 speeds: slow, medium, and fast. Ideally, in a chase, you want to fast vault, which will only take half a second. For reference, it takes most killers 1.7 seconds to vault, so they'll try and avoid it. In order to do this, you must sprint towards the window straight on within 2.5 meters. Doing a fast vault means you keep your momentum before vaulting and won't slow down at all. However, do not use this vault if the killer doesn't know where you are, as this alerts the killer with a noise notification. A medium vault happens when you don't have enough momentum, aren't sprinting at full speed, or run at the window at an angle, but you're still running towards it. This isn't ideal. The extra 0.4 seconds it takes to vault is not the best, but most importantly, more of your body is exposed, meaning it's easier for the killer to hit you mid-vault. It also gives a noise notification to the killer. Worst of all, you lose all momentum from before, meaning your speed is significantly reduced. In a pinch, you can use it, but you're better off trying to get that 2.5 meter straight run. Finally, a slow vault is, as you guessed it, slow. You enter this by walking towards the window. It takes 1.5 seconds to complete, which is only 0.2 seconds faster than the killer. You're easy to hit, and your momentum is, again, reset once you reach the other side of the window. The only advantage is that it doesn't make a noise announcement to the killer, so if you need to get somewhere stealthily, this is the one to use. Here is a chart so you can visualize it. Now, there's two other things to remember when it comes to windows. One is that during a chase sequence, you can only vault through the window 3 times before it gets blocked off. So you can't keep looping around the same area. The way to fix this is to break the chase. The only way to do this are to get far away from the killer or break their line of sight by 35 degrees. A good way to do this is using walls like this. One thing to remember is that you can be grabbed from the window if you are injured, so be careful. The next thing you need to take advantage of during a chase is the pallets. Now, you need to be careful with these. Once they're thrown out, the killer can break them, meaning it will no longer be available for later. Basically, just don't throw them down whenever. The best way to use a pallet is during a chase, specifically stunning the killer. If you time it so that the pallet falls onto the killer, they will be stunned for 2 seconds and the camera will tilt so it's hard to see. It's a good chance to escape. Otherwise, if you really need it in a chase to block the killer, you can. It's better for you to use the pallet than get caught most of the time. You can often use it as a substitute window since killers tend to not break the pallet, since it takes 2.3 seconds for them to do so and their camera angle changes to their feet. However, if the pallet has a really good placement, such as blocking stairs in RPD, you should avoid dropping it. It's very powerful with the right timing, and the killer will break it as soon as it comes down. Another note is that sometimes killers will be able to vault over pallets just as fast as you can, so be wary. Now we've learnt both pallets and windows, you can learn how to loop. A loop is a route you can take, or a few together, that you follow to bamboozle the killer. For example, in the killer shack, more about this in day 12, there is a window and a pallet, so you can easily escape the killer's grasp. Just have a bit of caution and again, watch the killer. If they predict your routes, they can hide and wait for you to come around like behind the window. One more thing you can add to your loop, though it is not recommended without a specific perk, are drop downs. Essentially, you can sometimes find doors or platforms where you can fall down. It is not ideal as you do take a moment to get yourself back up again, and the killer can catch up. This is only for a pinch, unless you have balanced landing, but this is for day 5. One tip for when you're in chase, sometimes you get the exposed status, which looks like this. Be careful, this means you'll get knocked down with one hit regardless of your health state. Another tip is to keep an eye out for blocked doors. The killer can break these and break your plan. Remember, if you've been picked up by the killer, you can still wriggle out by hitting skill checks. Even if you don't succeed in wriggling out, it makes the killer's path disturbed and buys more time, which ultimately is what you need as survivors. Time. And so, it's time for the summary. 1. Watch the killer when you're being chased so you don't get tricked. 2. Use your environment to your advantage and outsmart the killer. And 3. Enjoy yourself. At the end of the day, chases are the most intense and engaging parts of the game. As a killer, you have to take out 4 survivors, which means it's 4 versus 1. How do you even begin? My first advice is to get some headphones. Dead by Daylight utilizes spatial sound, which means if you hear a survivor on your left, they'll be on your left. When you first load in, you need to locate survivors. The best technique for a starter is to check the generators. The ones nearest you will be highlighted, but it's better to go to the generator opposite you. Survivors are often quite smart in that they'll move away from the generators until you've checked it, so have a quick look around then too. Also, listen to the generators. If they're making a sound or the sound speeds up, that means someone has started doing it and is likely nearby. Kick the generator to cause a penalty in progress and to make the generator regress, buying you more precious time. Another thing to keep an eye out for is visual cues. These happen when a survivor blows up a generator, when they fast vault a pallet, and other actions. Odds are, if you get there fast enough, you're likely to find a survivor or 2 around. One note that's important when it comes to chases is it's okay to give up sometimes. If you spend 3 minutes in a chase, you could have already lost 2 out of 5 generators. Go for the weaker players first and get them hooked. A tip, don't camp the survivor when they're hooked, i.e. stand next to them. Not only does it give the survivor a free unhook, but you're also wasting precious time to catch the other survivors. The only bonus to holding a long chase is Bloodlust. It is a status effect that increases your speed after being in a chase for more than 15 seconds. At 15 seconds, you get a boost of an extra 0.2 meters per second. After 25 seconds, it increases to 0.4, and at 35 seconds, the final tier, you get a boost of 0.6 seconds. Now, once you find your survivor, it's time to chase them. Now, this will take practice, but knowing a few things gives you a good boost at the start. I would recommend watching my videos on survivor plays as well as killer, and vice versa, as it's important to understand how the other team works, especially when it comes down to things like looping. Anyway, the first thing you want to keep an eye on is scratch marks. These appear on the ground when the survivor is sprinting and don't fade for 10 seconds. If they abruptly end when you are near the survivor, check the surrounding area, including lockers. They may be trying to hide from you. Other than this, try and keep your eye on the survivor as best you can. They'll try and be tricky, but you're better than that. Now, the survivor will likely try and trick you with vaults and pallets. If they're crouching at you and wiggling by a pallet, do not go to it. Instead, wait for them to move if you can, or use a long-range weapon if you have it, like Huntress's hatchet. If you go over, they're likely to smack you with the pallet, and that will slow your chase, which you really don't want. Also, if a survivor throws a pallet down, only destroy it if it's a powerful pallet, blocks you a lot, or if you are not in a chase, as it will restrict your vision and takes a moment. What you need to learn to do is watch the survivor's patterns and try and predict what they're going to do. I'd go watch day 2 if you haven't yet at this point, as I explain how loops work. If a survivor finds a good loop, you can trick them by waiting just beside the window so you can get an easy hit. Just try not to make it obvious, because if the survivor is practiced, they'll be watching and waiting for you to do so. Finally, the basic part, how to smack them. All killers, as a base, can do a quick attack hit by clicking the attack button, or a lunge hit by holding it down. For a quick attack hit, you'll have a very short range, so you'll have to use it sparingly. It's fast, but at the cost of distance. The lunge attack does take longer, but you get a short movement boost of 1.5 times faster for approximately 6 meters. You have to time this right, but at that moment when you're chasing them and you've got an opening, it's an easy hit. You have to be quick taking the survivor to the hook, as they have an opportunity to wriggle out, which will not only make you drop the survivor until they can run, but also stun you for a moment. The survivor will also be on the injured status again, meaning they can and will run away from you, though you may be able to track their grunts of pain. The most important thing to do as a killer, however, is just play. At the end of the day, practice makes perfect, but also, you're meant to enjoy yourself. But not just as a killer. Play as a survivor too. Learn how the other team works, learn how to loop and chase, so that when it happens to you as a killer, you can avoid it. An item is something that will assist you in the match. Different rarities have different base stats, and each item can have up to 2 add-ons, which makes them stronger. All items will have different rarities indicated by the colour. Brown ones are the weakest, then it goes to yellow for the next level, then green, then purple and red. Now, these can be obtained using the blood web. You may have noticed this icon on your menu screen. The blood web is where you can obtain perks and items, as well as add-ons for these items. To obtain them, you interact with the icon you want, and it'll show the amount of blood points it will cost. If you want to just level up your character quickly, you can interact with the center, which will go for perks first. Once you reach 50 levels, you can spend 20,000 blood points to prestige your character. The first level of prestige gives everyone tier 1 shared perks, second level of prestige gives tier 2, and third level of prestige gives tier 3. Blood points can be earned through playing matches, but can also be given to you at the end of the season via tiers. You don't need to know much about tiers, other than you level up by playing and winning matches. So, we're going to start with the medkit, as it's easier to understand. The medkit allows you to heal yourself with a speed penalty or give a healing boost to other teammates. Now, all items come with a limited use. These only have 24 charges without any add-ons regardless of the rarity. For reference, 1 charge is equal to 1 second of use before add-ons. This means you can heal your teammates and increase speed twice. You can also only heal yourself once at 33% reduced speed, which means it's not always worth it to heal yourself. I could get into the technical numbers and things for it, but for now, that's all you need to know for efficiency until we get to add-ons on the medkit. You may hear the term altruistic when it comes to medkits. All it means is the bonus speed you get when healing other survivors. Another note, when you use the medkit, you will have to succeed in skill checks. If you fail, you make a loud noise which alerts the killer. However, if you hit the great area, you get bonus progress. All medkits unlock the self-healing option. The camping aid kit has an increased altruistic healing speed of 35%, the classic first aid kit has an increased speed of 40%, the emergency medkit has 45%, and the ranger medkit has a 50% bonus. Now, we'll get into add-ons. There are 4 categories that they fall into, with 4 rarities going from brown to yellow to green to purple to red. First, you can add charges to your medkit, which means it will last longer. Bandages will add 8 charges to your medkit, self-adherent wrap adds 8 charges as well as a 5% healing speed bonus, Gauze Roll gives you 10 extra charges, and Gel Dressing adds 16 charges, the equivalent of half the medkit standard charges. The second is the healing speed bonus, which increases your base stat of healing speed. Butterfly tape increases the speed by 5%, medical scissors by 10%, self-adherent wrap by 5% with a bonus 8 charges, abdominal dressing by 15%, and also the anti-hemorrhaging a syringe, which heals a survivor with just 1 tap after 16 seconds as long as you hit the skill check. Remember, if the survivor is knocked down within those 16 seconds, then the effect is cancelled. The final category affects skill checks. I don't use these as much as they seem less efficient and there is a risk for the reward. For some of them as well, they only increase the skill check area, which is something you get better with in time. The first is rubber gloves, which increases your bonus skill check area by 10%. The next is needle and thread, which increases the chance of a skill check by 10% and increases the bonus for hitting the great section by 5%. The sponge increases the area of the great skill check section by 20%, and surgical suture increases the odds of a skill check by 15% and increases the bonus by 10%. The only one that does not fit these categories is the Stypic Agent. For this one, if you press the second ability button, you give whoever you are healing the endurance status effect. This means that for 5 seconds, the survivor will not take damage from being hit. For medkit, I personally use items that give extra charges, as well as items that give a faster healing speed. However, the combination you use is up to you and your playstyle. Now you understand what they do, you can start to get an idea. The next items we're going to look at is flashlights. Flashlights are good for a chase, as you can temporarily blind the killer if you aim at their eyes, or just slightly below their head, for a few seconds. The killer will be unable to lunge and will be completely blinded for approximately 2 seconds before add-ons. If you successfully blind the killer whilst they are holding a survivor, they will drop the survivor and be stunned for a moment. However, it is easy for the killer to avoid it by simply turning their head away. For flashlights, there are 3 rarities. The first flashlight is yellow. You can use the flashlight for 8 seconds and it has a standard base stats, meaning its distance and width are not the best. The next is the sports flashlight. This flashlight also runs for up to 8 seconds but has an increased aim accuracy of 20%, meaning it's more likely to hit the killer's eyes. It also has a reduced depletion rate of 11%, meaning any extra battery added lasts longer. Finally, you have the utility flashlight. This flashlight lasts for 12 seconds. It has an increased beam brightness of 30%, which means the killer's view is obstructed more by a higher brightness even before being blinded. Finally, it does have a reduced aim accuracy of 20%, meaning it is significantly harder to aim, though not impossible. Unlike the medkit, it's a bit more complex, making you sacrifice some stats for others depending on the flashlights. In terms of add-ons, they're also a little bit more complex. You have a few options to increase battery length. The standard battery extends battery life by 2 seconds. The heavy duty battery adds 4 seconds. A low amp filament reduces the battery depletion rate, how fast the battery runs out, by 24%. The long life battery adds an extra 6 seconds. There are also a few add-ons that increase the accuracy. Leather grip adds 20% accuracy to your flashlight, and rubber grip adds 40% accuracy. The next category is increasing both brightness of the flashlight as well as the duration of a successful blind. The first is the power bulb, which increases the brightness by 20% and the successful blind duration for 10%. Next is the focus lens. This add-on increases the reach of the flashlight by 25%, the brightness by 20%, the duration of a successful blind by 10%, but reduces the width of the light by 15%. TIR Optic increases the brightness of the beam by 30% and the duration of a successful blind by 15%. The Intense Halogen increases the brightness of the beam by 40% and the duration of a successful blind by 20%. The High-End Sapphire Beam increases the brightness by 30%, the duration of a successful blind by 15%, increases the reach of the beam by 25%, but it does reduce the width by 25%. Finally, the Odd Bulb increases the brightness by 50%, duration of a successful blind by 25%, but does reduce the battery life by 14%. The only odd one out is the Wide Lens, which increases the width by 25%, but the length is also reduced by 25%, meaning it's ideal for close range. Now, my best advice when it comes to flashlights is to always bring something to extend battery life. If you're newer, I'd avoid anything that reduces the width or length if you can avoid it, as you need to practice your aim first. However, at the end of the day, what is most important is that you choose the add-ons that work best for you. The next and one of the most useful items is the toolbox. Now, the toolbox can do 2 things. It can increase your speed of completing the generator, but it can also unlock the option to break a hook for a base stat of 30 seconds. Toolboxes often have advantages to them that lean either way. Getting through generators quickly will help your team, but sabotaging a hook just before a killer is about to hook someone means you earn more time for the survivors to wiggle out. All toolboxes unlock the sabotage option. Be wary, as sabotaging a hook sends a noise notification to the killer. The worn out toolbox has 16 charges, aka 16 seconds, increases the repair speed by 50%, reduces the success zone of skill checks by 10%. The commodious toolbox is built for sabotage, but can be used for generators. It has 32 charges and an increased repair speed of 50%, same as the worn out toolbox, but a 50% increase to sabotage speed. The mechanics toolbox is better for gen progress, having only 16 charges but increased repair speed of 75% and an increased sabotage speed of 25%. The classic toolbox has 20 charges, which increases the repair speed by 50%, increases sabotage speed by 15%, and unlocks the sabotage action. Alex's toolbox is built for sabotage, and it's a waste to use it otherwise. It has 18 charges, a 10% repair speed bonus, but a whopping 100% sabotage speed increase, doubling it. Similarly, the engineer's toolbox is built for increasing generator decoding speed, having 16 charges, a 10% sabotage speed bonus, and 100% repair speed bonus, again doubling it. The first category of add-ons is repair speed bonuses. The clean rag gives a 20% repair speed bonus and the socket swivels give a 30% bonus. The next is the sabotage speed bonus. The cutting wire gives a sabotage speed bonus of 20% and the hacksaw gives a 30% bonus. We then have add-ons that increase the charge. There are scraps, which give an extra 8 charges, the wire spool, which adds 12 charges, and the brand new part which, upon hitting a difficult skill check, permanently reduces the generator's repair requirement by 10 charges. It's a difficult one, and not really for new players, but it gives a good reward. The other add-ons don't really fit into a category. Instructions stop any skill checks from appearing, protective gloves stop the noise notification from a sabotaged hook reaching the killer, the spring clamp reduces generator repairing noises by 8 meters, and the grip wrench increases the time for a hook to repair by 20 seconds, meaning the hook will be out of action for almost a minute. All in all, the build you use for your toolbox will depend on what you're doing. I always recommend adding extra charges if you can, but if you're sabotaging, I wouldn't use a perk that reduces sabotage noise, and instead go for something that increases the speed. The most effective way to sabotage is right in front of the killer before he can hook a survivor, so the killer will likely see it regardless of the noise. The toolboxes are very powerful items if you use them correctly. The penultimate item is the map. The map helps you locate things during a match, but will burn as you use it, giving you limited usage. The map only has 2 rarities, excluding event offerings. The first rarity is the regular map. This map tracks one generator at the start of the trial, tracks any other generator within 8 meters, and if you have the detective's hunch perk, all chests, generators, and totems you find using it will be kept. This map has 20 charges, which is around 20 seconds. The rainbow map is the only other map rarity. 3 random objects will be tracked at the start of the trial. Within 8 meters, it will also reveal exit gate switches, generators, hatches, and hooks. It follows the same rules for Detective's Hunch and also has 20 charges. The map add-ons are in less distinct categories than the other ones, but have some aspects in common. To increase the amount of time you can use the map for, you can use Map Addendum, which adds 5 seconds to your map usage. Retarded Jelly reduces the depletion rate and therefore the speed your durability runs out by 20%. You can also increase the object tracking range or using the unusual stamp, increasing the distance by 8 meters, and the odd stamp, increasing the distance by 12 meters. By pressing the secondary action button while using the map with a glass bead, a pillar of light will appear at your location that can only be seen by other survivors. The red twine unlocks your ability to track the killer's belongings. So, for example, you'd be able to track the trapper's traps. The yellow wire allows That was a tongue twister. The yellow wire allows you to track the exit gates. The black silk cord allows you to track the hatch, which can be very helpful in late game as finding the hatch before the killer can close it is crucial. When it comes to the map, I think it can be good to help you learn where things are as a beginner. However, the more you play the game, it's not as useful as other items. The best add-ons are probably the ones that add durability and the hatch tracking too. The final item that we're going to look at is keys. Keys reveal the aura of items depending on the add-ons and potentially allow the hatch to open. This key is only really useful for late game if the killer has already closed the hatch, or for tracking the killer or other survivors, which often isn't useful if you have other aura reading perks. Regardless, we'll go through them. The broken key only has the ability to read auras depending on its add-ons for 10 seconds. It cannot open the hatch. The dull key activates the aura reading ability for 5 seconds and can open the hatch if it still has some charge left. Finally, the skeleton key can reveal auras for 30 seconds and open the hatch again if the key isn't depleted. In terms of add-ons, there are, again, a few categories. For one, some add-ons increase the time you can use the key. The prayer rope adds 10 seconds of use, and the prayer beads increase it by 15 seconds. The next add-ons decide what is revealed by your aura reading abilities. Eroded token reveals the aura of survivor within 24 meters of you. The gold token lets you see survivors within 48 meters. The blood amber lets you see killers within 24 meters, but it increases your depletion speed by 100%, doubling it. The unique wedding ring lets you see the aura of the obsession, who's being pursued can often give the killer bonuses, is revealed to you at all times, regardless if you are using the key or not. It also reduces your chance of being the obsession at the start by 100%. Finally, the add-ons are the Scratched Pearl, which adds an extra 12 meters of aura reading ability, the Milky Glass, which is used up instead of the key when it comes to opening a hatch, and the Weaved Ring, which lets you keep the key after death. When it comes to keys, it's kind of hard to decide which add-ons are best, as for example, certain killers make it more desirable to know who the obsession is. At the end of the day, it's probably the most useless of the items, except for specific circumstances, so I would personally not use it if you're a starter and have those specific strategies to run it on. In conclusion, there is a wide range of items and add-ons that you can use for the trial, and a good rule of thumb is to always add more charges. It will rely on your playstyle which you choose, but a good one is the medkit or the toolbox, specifically the generator speed, for you to get used to the game. On the blood web, you'll be able to collect perks. These are special abilities or bonuses that help you compete against the killer. As you can see, there will be 3 perks per character at the top. Once your blood web reaches level 50, you will get to level up your blood web, and it allows shared perks. The first time you do this, you get tier 1, which is the weakest level of the perk. Do it twice, you get tier 2, and 3 times you get tier 3. Shared perks means every character can use that perk without having to get it on the blood web. Other characters can get that perk at a higher tier throughout the blood web once you get tier 1, but once you get to tier 2 or 3, everyone will get that perk at those tiers regardless of blood web level. You can equip up to 4 perks per round, excluding special game modes like 2v8 where you only have special perks, and Chaos Shuffle where you only get 4 random perks. These perks either come from a character, in which they are specialised, or general perks which you can receive regardless of character. The builds we'll go through today are the ones available from the starter characters you get, or the ones that are generally available. To start learning the game, I'm going to give you 8 recommendations, 3 of which are general perks. I would recommend starting with Dwight, as many of them are Dwight's perks. First, we have Dark Sense. Whenever a generator is completed within 24 meters, the killer is revealed for 5/7/10 seconds depending on the tier of the perk. This will help you avoid getting snuck up on while you're still learning sound cues. Next is Deja Vu. This one is super helpful when you're still learning the map. First, the aura of the 3 closest generators is revealed to you at all times. Additionally, you receive a repair speed boost of 4/5/6 seconds, respective of tiers. Next is Premonition. This will give you an audio cue when you look at the killer within 36 meters. This will help you to learn to listen to sound cues within the game while still telling you where the killer is. This has a cooldown of 60/45/30 seconds respectively. Next are Dwight's perks, as the previous ones were general. Prove Thyself will encourage you to work with your teammates. Per survivor, it will increase your repair speed by 6/8/10% per survivor within 4 meters of you, up to a maximum of 18/24/30%. Next is Bond, which is another perk good for working with your teammates. You will be able to see the aura of the other survivors within 20/28/36 meters. Next, we have perks from 3 other starter survivors, Jake, Meg, and Claudette. First is Jake's, Iron Will. This reduces the sound of your grunts of pain from being injured by 80/90/100%. This means it'll be a lot easier to hide and escape a chase. Next is Sprint Burst, a Meg perk. This perk gives you a 50% sprint boost for 3 seconds when you start to run. This is very useful for when you've been caught at a gen or simply need a boost in a chase. The cooldown is 60/50/40 seconds, respective of tier. Finally is Claudette's perk, Empathy. This perk allows you to see injured or downed survivors within 64/96/128 meters. This will be really useful because if someone has been hit or downed, then they're likely in chase. This will tell you if it's safe to be in the area for a generator, but also if you need to move away from an area. Be cautious in the area where they were. There is often a good chance there won't be many pallets to work with. When it comes to making your build, I recommend creating a balance. For example, if you have too many information perks, which are perks that tell you information on survivors, killers, and things like chests, you have nothing to help you in a chase or when decoding generators. It's a good idea to mix up those that give you generator boosts, stealth, perks that help you sneak away, information, and chase perks, perks that give you a boost in a pinch. Once you've played with these for a while, we can start to go towards more cultivated builds. We're going to go through 4 styles: stealth, chase, generator, and support builds. Again, it is a good idea to have at least one other perk from another build. If you have a full stealth build, don't just spend the whole game hiding. Sure, you can be more sneaky, but it's not an excuse to hide the whole game. If all of you watching become sneaky hiders, the Dead by Daylight subreddit will have my head. First, the stealth build. Iron Will is a good Jake perk for this, as previously mentioned, which reduces your grunts of pain. Lightweight is another good perk. It only reduces the time your scratch marks appear for 3/4/5 seconds, but also reduces the chance of your scratch marks appearing by 60% regardless of tier, meaning your scratch marks are inconsistent and hard to follow. This means it's a lot easier to hide from the killer after a chase or running from a generator, for example. Quick and Quiet from Meg is the next perk that's pretty useful for stealth. It stops a loud noise notification, i.e. the visual symbol the killer receives at certain actions, but it also does sound effects from when you do rush actions, such as doing a quick vault, head-on sprint vault, fast vaulting window, or sprint exiting locker. This has a cooldown of 30/25/20 seconds, and is very useful for when you're trying to run away from the killer, or just trying to create distance. We then have Dark Sense, which is another previously mentioned perk, which reveals the killer's aura upon generator completion. Finally, we have Nia's perk Urban Evasion. This perk increases your crouching movement speed by 90/95/100%, which means you can sneak past the killer much faster. Next is a chase build. This is often really useful if you're adjusting to chases, want to start taking more chases, or simply need a little boost. First, we have 2 perks that cannot be used together. One is Meg Sprint Burst, which as previously mentioned gives you a 3-second boost when you sprint. The other is Nia's Balanced Landing. This perk not only reduces the stagger effect by 75% when you drop down, the animation in which you are delayed from running again, but also suppresses all noise from landing and grants you a 50% movement speed bonus upon landing, making a fall no longer a detriment, but an advantage. This, like Sprint Burst, causes a 60/50/40 second exhausted status effect, which is why they cannot be used together. For reference, exhaustion is basically just a cooldown for perks with the exhaustion status effect. The next perk is the General Resilience perk. This increases your speed of repairing, healing, sabotaging, unhooking, vaulting, cleansing, blessing, opening, and unlocking by 3/6/9%. This means not only does it help you in a chase, but it improves your teamwork. Next, we have Meg's Adrenaline. Now, this is also an exhaustion perk, but is only for endgame, i.e. when the exit gate or hatch has appeared. You'll become exhausted once it is active, but it will activate regardless of existing exhaustion. Now, this perk activates once the exit gates are powered, aka when all the generators are done. You heal 1 health status and gain a 50% speed boost for 3 seconds, just like Sprint Burst. It will give you exhaustion for 60/50/40 seconds. We next have Empathy, which is the perk from earlier which allows you to see the aura of injured or downed survivors. This is a good indicator for a chase build as it allows you to take over a chase when you see someone is currently in one if you want to. It also tells you if you're the one that's currently still in the chase or someone else. Finally, we have Dark Sense, the perk that reveals the aura of the killer when a generator is completed. Empathy and Dark Sense, as you can tell, are quite useful perks as they have multiple uses. Next, we have 4 perks for a generated build. The first is the previously mentioned Deja Vu, allowing you to see the locations and subsequently go straight over, and gives you a speed boost you're repairing. Next is Premonition. Again, another one we have previously mentioned, but it gives you a noise notification when you're looking at the killer within a certain distance. This means you can tell when the killer is near and hide if necessary before they catch you unawares at a generator. We have Dwight's perk, Prove Thyself, which gives you the generator speed repair boost when near other survivors. This will not only give you a boost, but encourage you to work with your fellow team members to increase the speed of your generator repair. Finally, we have Nia's Streetwise. It increases the efficiency, as in gives you a speed boost, of your items by 15/20/25% respectively, and it also extends to your fellow survivors within 8 meters for 15 seconds. This is very handy when it comes to your toolboxes, as these give you a greater boost to your repair. Finally, we have support build perks. The first 2 we've already discussed, but we'll go over again. Prove Myself and Empathy. Dwight's Prove Thyself gives you a repair speed when within 4 meters of your fellow survivors, Claudette's empathy means you can see injured and downed survivors, so you can take the chase from injured survivors so they're not downed, or hide nearby to get a swift hook rescue. Next is Claudette's botany knowledge. This perk is pretty simple. It increases your healing speed by 30/40/50%, but does also reduce your healing efficiency by 20%. Obviously, this is good for healing your teammates. Next is Kindred, a general perk that only reveals the aura of the killer to all survivors when the killer is 8/12/16 meters away from the hook, but reveals the aura of all survivors to each other if you are the one hooked. And the aura of all survivors is revealed to only you whenever anyone is on the hook. This hook is really useful for rescues, as you can see if someone is waiting to rescue already, and also if the killer is hiding nearby. The penultimate is an endgame perk, No One Left Behind. This perk is activated when the exit gates spawn in or are powered. Your action speeds for healing and unhooking are increased by 30/40/50%. The haste effect is increased by survivors unhooked by you for 7%, which means they're sped up. The auras of other survivors are revealed to you, so you can start to think of a plan. And finally, you get a 50/75/100% blood point bonus for the altruism category. I'll go over the categories at the end. This means you're much stronger in the end game, and it increases your odds of getting more people out alive. Finally, we have the general perk, Will Make It. This perk activates when you unhook someone, and it increases your altruistic healing speed by 100% for 30/60/90 seconds. Altruistic healing is when you heal someone with 1 or 2 survivors, meaning it will help you get your fellow teammates up much faster, therefore making that escape that bit faster. Again, I would recommend using a mix of perks. For example, if you only have perks that tell you where people and the killer are, you're going to be at a disadvantage when it comes to using the generators or being in a chase compared to having a mixed build. However, it's okay to run multiple of the same type if you're learning how to use the game, for example, getting better at finding generators and completing them. There is one more thing I'd like to cover today, and that is offerings. Offerings can do things such as increase the chance of spawning into a certain map, increase your luck, stop you losing items, and a whole bunch of different things. However, the priority right now as a beginner is to get perks, and so for that I recommend running blood point offerings. The best one is the escape cake, which gives you a 100% bonus for all categories. The other, which is great for running with friends, is the band envelope, which gives a stackable bonus of 25% to all survivors. This means that you can get a bonus of 125% in blood points. Occasionally, on events like the anniversary, and I suspect the Five Nights at Freddy's too, you'll get an offering that acts like the bound envelope, which gives you a 100% bonus. This means that you can get a total of a 500% bonus, which is crazy good. Otherwise, you can run other offerings that give you a blood point bonus in one of 4 categories: objectives, altruism, survival, and boldness. Objectives is increased by working together and repairing generators, so this can be increased with things like opening chests, exit gates, and repairing generators. Survival is increased by lasting for longer, so hiding from the killer and surviving chases is of a bonus to you. Altruism is from helping other survivors, so for example unhooking another survivor and healing them. Finally is boldness, which is increased by interacting with the killer, so for example interacting with their special objects, breaking the killer's hook, and being within his terror radius, aka when your heart beats. When you're a new killer, one of the hardest things to do is to find the survivors. You can find scratch marks on the ground, of course, but survivors won't always be so careless, and scratch marks fade. It's then harder to hit them and hook them, as they might wriggle out. Therefore, we're going to build on that as you start to play as killer. One thing to note from the previous episode, which I recommend you watch before this, is that all perks have 3 levels, increasing in strength and durability. Remember, you also have shared perks too, which again I go into more detail on day 5. We're going to start with general perks, so you can get these regardless of prestige. The first is Sloppy Butcher. This perk activates when you hit a survivor with a basic attack, as in not a specialized attack. When you hit a survivor, it causes the hemorrhage and mangled status effects on survivors for 70/80/90 seconds, respective of tier. Hemorrhage causes more blood to spill out from the survivor, making them easier to track. They will also lose any healing process by 7% for all the time they are partially healed, making it harder for survivors to heal if they're not fast enough. Mangled means the survivor takes 25% longer to heal, again making it much harder for survivors to recover and easier for you to down them as they're less likely to heal any extra. It also increases the effect of hemorrhage by 25%, meaning the survivor has a lot more difficulty healing. The next perk is Iron Grasp. This one decreases wiggle progress for survivors when you're carrying them by 75%, which means you have more time to get to the hook. It also increases the maximum wiggle duration by 4/8/12%, again helping you keep them in your grip. Next is Bitter Murmur. This perk activates when a generator is completed, which triggers your ability to see the aura of survivors within 16 meters for 5 seconds, meaning you can get a good idea of where they are running to / hiding. Once the final generator is completed, you can see the aura of all survivors for 5/7/10 seconds, so you'll get a head start before they get to the gates and give you a good chance to catch them before they escape. Next is Spies from the Shadows. This perk is really easy to understand. It allows you to get a noise notification when a survivor has disturbed a crow, which sit around the map and are disturbed by a survivor running nearby, for example, within 20/28/36 meters. There is a 5-second cooldown for this perk, which means you'll be able to get a rough idea where survivors are. Whispers is the final general perk. This perk is, again, fairly easy to understand. The entity will whisper in your ear whenever at least one survivor is within 38/40/32 meters of your location. This means it is now harder for survivors to hide from you and also trains you to listen to audio cues. Now, these perks should be enough to get you started comfortably and get a good start as a killer. There are a few more perks that belong to beginner killers that will also give you a good boost as you start to prestige them. The first two are Trapper perks. First is Agitation. This perk activates when you are carrying a survivor. It not only increases your movement speed by 6/12/18%, but it also increases your terror radius by 12 meters. This means you can get your survivor to the hook quickly and also avoid flashlight attacks as you can spin and move away faster. The second is Brutal Strength. This increases your speed of breaking walls and drop pallets as well as damaging generators by 10/15/20%. This means that you can save precious time when it comes to pursuing your prey. The next killer with a handy perk is Hillbilly. He has a very handy perk called Tinkerer. This perk is activated whenever a generator receives 70% progress. First, it triggers a loud noise notification, which means you'll know exactly where the survivor is. Secondly, it gives you the undetectable status for 12/14/16 seconds, which means your terror radius is non-existent and you can sneak up easily on survivors now you know where they are. Next, we have Nurse's tricky to pronounce Thanatophobia, which, fun fact, means fear of death. First, each injured, dying, or hooked survivor afflicts all survivors with an action speed penalty of a stackable 1/1.5/2% to repairing, sabotaging, and cleaning to a maximum of 4/6/8%. The penalty is a whopping 12% when all are in one of those states. This means that even if you don't have anyone hooked, you're still going to get a bonus. This is a good perk to be running with Sloppy Butcher as it keeps the survivors injured for longer. Finally, we have one more perk which is a good one to run as a killer. Predator activates when the survivor loses you in a chase. You'll be able to see the survivor's aura for 4 seconds. Predator has a cooldown of 60/50/40 seconds depending on your perk tier. Now, when it comes to running these perks, it's a good idea to have at least some information perks, i.e. ones that tell you where the survivor is a good start. Just remember, listen and watch. When it comes to being a killer, you will have a special ability exclusive to the killer. I'll explain these. When it comes to items, however, they're fairly easy to follow. For example, the axe-throwing huntress has items that increase the number of axes she carries, her attack speed, all that kind of thing. We will, however, go through all the different abilities the beginner killers have and a few tips each. First, we'll go through Trapper. He's fairly easy to play. All you have to do is place your traps around the map. Be careful though, you can step in them yourself, and while it is funny for survivors, it's not so much for you. You will start with 2 base traps, which can be increased with items, and 6 more will randomly spawn in the map, which you can move. You can only hold 2 traps at once. When a survivor steps in them, they'll have to struggle out. It will give you a loud noise notification. A survivor is less likely to escape the first 2 times they try and escape, and more likely for 3 or more times. Beware, if a teammate takes the risk to free them, they'll get their teammate out. If you hit the survivor freeing their friend, he'll insta-down them. Try and put traps down at pallets and windows, as survivors won't see this, and you will often be trapped in a chase. If you can get a survivor in the basement, the hook below the map, and trap the entrance, then you've got a strong play. Good add-ons for Trapper are ones that increase the maximum amount of traps that you can carry. Next is Huntress. She's not too tricky to play and one of my personal favourites. She throws axes. To do this, you wind up your attack and then throw it. You start with 7 hatchets. These can be refilled by opening a locker. When you're nearby, they'll be highlighted. First tip, make sure not to wind up the attack too early. It decreases your speed, so if they're running away, they will be long gone. Another good idea is not break all the pallets. You can threaten a survivor waiting to jump over, and you can hit a survivor as they vault, giving you a short but useful attack window. Don't waste your axes. You don't want to run out at a key moment. You're slower as the Huntress, so they're crucial in a chase. A good add-on is extra hatches, so you're not caught off guard. Our next killer is Hillbilly. This guy has a chainsaw, and when you activate your skill, you run fast with it. If you hit a survivor with a chainsaw, they are instantly downed regardless of their previous health state, unless they've just been unhooked and have endurance, which puts them into bleeding state until they heal themselves or pass out. Beware, if you run into something, your chainsaw chase will end. A few tips: don't use the chainsaw when looping, you will just get thrown off. If someone's looping excessively, just give up. Another tip: a good idea is to run at a survivor on a gen. A good hillbilly add-ons are ones that reduce the weight of your chainsaw and ones that reduce cooldown speed. The penultimate one is Wraith. Wraith has the ability to become visible and invisible. You have an increased speed boost when invisible too, and you have no terror radius. You ring your bell as you appear and disappear. Some tips: body block, basically block with your body, windows and pallets as you uncloak, become visible again to surprise the survivor and get a hit in. Try and uncloak in places where you can get a surprise hit. Good add-ons for Wraith are ones that reduce or remove the sound of your bell ringing upon cloaking and uncloaking. Finally, we have Nurse, who I would not recommend as a new killer as she's powerful, but she's stupidly hard to play. I speak from experience. Nurse has the ability to teleport. She can teleport twice if fully charged, or only once if not. However, once she does so, she'll be fatigued for a moment. One good tip is, if you lose line of sight, teleport to where you lost it. Odds are you'll find the survivor again. Another tip: hit as soon as you teleport if you can. It's a quick and guaranteed hit. Third, watch how the survivor plays. Do they double back a lot? Do they wiggle? Are they nice, precious? Match your attacks to this. Good add-ons for her, especially as a newbie, are ones that reduce fatigue or show you where your jump will go. Finally, we go to offerings, and my advice: again, just go for blood points. Survivor gives you 100% boost, as does anniversary offerings if you claim them, usually around June. Otherwise, you can boost certain categories. The first is brutality, which is increased by hurting survivors and destroying things. Next is deviousness, where you use your power effectively. Next is hunter. This is increased by finding, chasing, and catching survivors. And finally, you have sacrifice, where you need to hook, kill, and sacrifice survivors. Whichever of these you do best, I recommend adding a blood point bonus to that category. First is crouching. It can be used in good and bad ways. The first is healing. To thank someone for healing you, you should crouch a few times, unless of course you're being chased. You can also ask to be healed. By crouching, you're asking the other player, "Heal me please." Crouching can also be used in toxic ways, however, and should not be used otherwise. For example, if someone is crouching over the hatch, that is seen as taunting the killer. Not only is it rude, but you can easily lose a game this way if the killer closes it. Crouching at the exit gate is also seen as toxic, and again, if not well timed, can make you lose a game. Finally, crouching in general when you're showing off is rude. Basically, don't be rude. Everyone is here to have fun. On the same note, flashing your flashlight on and off continuously to bait the killer is again considered rude. You can use it to blind them of course, but it's considered taunting just to irritate them. Next is working as a team to survive. First, a note for the killer: do not tunnel. This means chasing down the survivor when they're straight off the hook. It's also considered toxic as it's very hard for the survivor to get away and means they'll be downed quite easily. If you find them after a bit, not specifically hunting them down, that's okay. But strategy-wise, it's better to find other survivors and kick the generators to slow progress. You also don't want to face camp. This is when you stand very near the survivor, or camping, where you stand nearby. Face camping also throws a meter for the survivor, which when full gives the survivor a 100% chance to unhook, meaning you will lose them anyway. The next thing to do is make sure you work together to survive as long as possible as a group. If there aren't many survivors by the end, it's almost impossible to get the generators done and escape. So if a fellow survivor has been chased down a lot and you haven't, try and take the chase and help that survivor hide. Rather, you take a hook than the other survivor die. Another thing to be careful of is rescuing your fellow survivors. If you're injured or have 2 hook staked, leave it to someone else. You are more likely to die when going for the hook rescue, and it's not worth risking yourself. Also, be careful when unhooking. Don't give your position away too early. Next, keep an eye on status effects. If someone is being chased and is about to be hooked, take their chase. If someone is hooked, check your fellow survivor's health to see who should go. We're now going into 3-gen. 3-gen means that you've done the generators so that the last 3 are close together. Do not do this. This means it's significantly easier for the killer to hunt you all down, so ensure to spread out. On this note, don't hop on the first generator you see. Wait it out. You'll get caught very quickly. After you have done your first gen, try and find someone else's gen. Now let's explore body blocking. Say someone is about to be downed in a chase and they'll die. You can block the killer with your body and take the hit. This strategy is also useful if an injured survivor is running to the gate and you are at full health. It means you can all safely get out, get all 4 of you out of the gate. finally, have fun and be civil. You will get plenty of blood points whether you win or not, and there's no point being mad at the end of the match, especially during events like FNAF, where I'm sure there'll be some kind of blood point bonus. You don't need every survivor, and you don't need every killer to be good at the game. And that's it for the first week. Congratulations! You should now be able to play the game at a pretty good level. I hope you enjoy playing, and when you're ready, come join me in week 2, where we'll get really stuck in and learn how to play the game at an advanced level so you can play top tier games. See you next time!
First, we have Trapper. Trapper places traps around the map for you to step in, which you have to struggle out of. For this guy, you want to disarm the traps, especially when they're hidden. You also want to be wary when you vault or go to a pallet. Odds are there's a hidden trap there. Next is Wraith. This guy can become invisible at the ding of his bell. Unless he has an add-on, you can also see a faint outline. To counter him, keep an eye out and listen for footsteps so you don't jump into a trap. If he's not chasing someone, be careful. Now we have Hillbilly. Hillbilly is pretty simple. He charges up his attack and chases you at high speed with a chainsaw, but it's also hard to control. Essentially, don't run in a straight line and hold the chase around windows and pallets. Remember, the chainsaw is one hit, so you need to avoid being caught. For Nurse, she can teleport, but has a cooldown after. You have to mind game her, which means trick her. Get out of her line of sight so it's harder to see where you are, and make her think you're doing things you're not so she teleports to the wrong area. Be wary, she is very hard to counter, so don't feel disheartened if you lose. Next is the Shape, or Michael Myers. Now, he will stalk you to increase his meter. So first, you need to look for him. He'll be watching you somewhere, so try and keep out of his line of sight. You can do this by crouching and hiding around corners. Next, Myers can only stalk each player a certain amount, and can only stalk the closest player. So if he stalks you a lot and not someone else, get closer to take it over. Be careful. If his meter fills, then he will temporarily have the ability to take you down in one hit. Be wary of jumpscare Myers. He carries Scratch Mirror, then his terror radius is very small until you see him, but while stalking, he can see nearby survivors. He can also see through walls, so be wary. Now, the Hag. She can teleport to her traps and you'll activate them by walking within 2.7 meters. You can crouch near them and this means you won't be detected. Get rid of them by crouching towards them and wipe them away. The Doctor is our next killer. His ability is to electrocute you with 3 different tiers. For one, don't group together as much as you can unless doing generators, otherwise he will shock you all at once. Skill checks will become harder the more you are electrocuted, aka the higher tier you are, and if you fail them, you will scream, so be wary. These skill checks will activate when you try and recover, and recovering is important, as Doctor is benefited by the majority of survivors being disorientated. Huntress throws hatchets and has to restock them at lockers. If she hits you with a hatchet, you'll be damaged to 1 health state. One way to avoid these is by ducking at the right time. When the Huntress is preparing to throw a hatchet, duck. She'll make a sound as she raises the axe. You'll avoid the axe unless she aims down. Try and hide round corners and duck below a pallet, as it's hard for her to aim at you. Try and mind game her too. Make her think you're doing one thing when you're not, so she wastes her axe. The invisible spirit travels significantly faster, so she can appear wherever. And she can hear noises as well as see things like grass and bushes parting, so avoid these. Running back on your scratch marks or switching to walking can throw off Spirit, as she can no longer see the direction you're going in. Try and listen for her phasing. The twins are tricky to combat. One thing you can do is kick the smaller twin Victor, so he'll go back to the larger twin Charlotte. To dodge this, dodge his pounce by running to the side, then kick him when he misses his attack. Trickster is very hard to combat as his knife throwing is fast and aggressive, and you have to heal yourself out of the mend state. If Trickster fills up the attack meter, then you will be knocked down. Your best shot is to hide around corners and around walls, try and crouch, and if all else fails, zigzag away. Trickster's aim is very precise, so your best shot is to get somewhere where he can't hit you. Nemesis is irritating. He has AI zombies hunting you, which can deal a hit if you're close enough, and he has a long whip which deals damage far away, which is really annoying. Keep your distance from zombies, but if it's annoying and it's safe to do so, trigger a loud noise notification, such as vaulting a pallet or slamming a locker, as the zombie will go over. I don't recommend doing this though until someone is in a chase so you don't trigger the killer to come hunt you down. To dodge the whip, crouch behind low wall objects, like a window for example, and the whip will miss. Don't run in a straight line either, as you give him a clear shot. Hug them walls. Cenobite, aka Pinhead, is annoying as he can send chains at you, but also if you don't find and solve his box, you'll be constantly hit with chains until it's solved. 1. Try and watch where the chain portals are coming from. If you're near a wall, sometimes you can block it. If it's right in front, dodge to the side. To get the box, don't just go whenever. Try and go when Pinhead is busy or he'll teleport right next to you. A good strategy is to be near it, ready to do it when the time is right, but attack at the right time. If he's straight to you, run. If you have time to solve it, go somewhere where you have a chance of running away dodging chains whilst running. Artist is, again, very annoying. She launches birds around her or closer in a chase, and if she hits a survivor, they'll have crows above their head, obstructing them from doing anything like generators, and they need to get rid of the crows, as whilst the survivor isn't getting rid of the crows, Artist can see their aura. If you perform an action like vaulting, it resets the repel action. The best advice for her is to watch out for crows and repel them as fast as possible. A handy note is that climbing into a locker will get rid of the swarm. Onryo can teleport through her TVs. To stop her, take the tape out of a TV, which will temporarily disable it. If you're doing a gen, make sure you take out the tape nearest to you so you're not caught off guard. You'll get stacks of Condemned 2, which if full, at 9, Onryo can kill you if you're downed. If the TV turns back on, leave it for now. Keep an eye on TVs too. You have a very short time of her climbing out where you have to, in British terms, leg it. Now, Dredge. He sucks purely because he's hard to counter. He can teleport to any locker and he'll leave a remnant, a black cloud behind. The worst part is nightfall. Your vision will go black around you as a survivor and his teleports are faster. This is when you are very much in danger. Do not let fear get to you. One technique is run through the remnant. It will disappear, stopping him from teleporting, but will tell him where you are. Next, nightfall is only for a limited time. Survive as long as you can, listening for audio cues, and keep an eye on windows and pallets. Windows of Opportunity is a brilliant perk for this, and the one I run myself. You can also lock a locker, which increases the time for Dredge to come out of it, giving you a little bit longer to get away. But remember, only lock the locker near you, and only lock one side of the locker. Dredge will only teleport to the locked one out of 2. Also, don't hide in lockers, because if Dredge teleports there, you'll be pulled out. Next is the Knight. He spawns another AI-controlled Knight. As it's a bot, he's not impossible to control. After a certain amount of time passes, you can go back to the bot Knight spawn point and collect a flag, despawning him. You know this flag spawns by the sound of a horn. However, it's often a good idea just to run and kite for as long as you can and keep running. Avoid corners too, or you'll get sandwiched between the Knight and his bot. Avoid loops, as both he and his bot can get you. Essentially, just run and buy as much time as you can because it's very hard to counter. Now we have Skull Merchant. She's a little more complex. She places down a maximum of 8 drones, and when she places them down, she's undetectable for around 6 seconds, without add-ons, meaning she has no terror radius. The drones are hard to see until you walk under them, then it will track you and tell the killer where you are. If you go under a drone and get tracked 3 times, you'll be stuck with a claw trap, which gives you the broken status effect, aka you can't heal until 45 seconds after. The best strat? Crouch to get those darn drones down. Also, avoid running through the drones in a chase. If you get claw trapped, she will speed up. Our next killer is the Xenomorph. Xenomorph uses her tail to impale you, giving a long range attack. It can also go through tunnels and pop up in front of you. What you can do to combat this, however, is put flame turrets down. These force her to get out of crawling state and disables her ability temporarily to stab you with her tail, which means she can only hit you at close range. Place them in places she won't see right away, as she can break it if she sees it too early. Next is the Cannibal, fondly named Bubba by the fandom. He is fairly similar to Hillbilly in that he has a chainsaw attack. He's fast, so aim for corners and don't go for an open space. He has a longer time period in which he is in his fast chainsaw mode, so be wary. He can also hit multiple targets at once without being kicked out of chainsaw chase, so don't rely on someone else knocking down. Nightmare is an annoying one to tackle. When you are asleep, aka when the timer runs out, Nightmare is faster and your reaction time is slower. You can wake yourself up with an alarm clock, or a fellow survivor can wake you up. To counter this, don't stick to one loop. He still has a large lunge despite his height, so don't underestimate him. Try and keep awake as much as you can too. Peak has a few things to remember. 1, she's got no terror radius when she's crouching, so keep an eye out for her like every stealth killer. 2, she has a big lunge, and 3, she has traps on your head that you have to defuse or you die, as in dead. For 1, you need to make sure you check your surroundings when you're doing a generator or healing a teammate, as she may be hiding. She can't see well, so try to be unpredictable in your patterns. Mind game her. Finally, the traps only activate once a gen pops, so it's a good idea to heal first before taking your trap off. We have Clown next. Clown's ability is that he can throw 1 or 2 bottles at you. The first is Tonic, a purple glass cloud. Clown is not affected by this. On a survivor, it causes impaired vision, coughing, stops the survivor fast vaulting, and reduces movement speed by 15% with the hindered status effect. This effect does only last for 2 seconds, so you can really throw off your loops. He can also throw Antidote, which increases haste by 15%. This cloud is white when inactive, yellow when active. It can affect both killer and survivor. For Clown, first, pre-run. Don't let him get close to you, because if you're gassed in a loop, you're in trouble. Otherwise, use pallets to your advantage. You can still fast vault over pallets, which buys you those valuables for a few seconds. Legion has a few different abilities. 1, they can vault over pallets and windows very quickly. 2nd, they can fast attack you, which triggers Deep Wound. This means that you must mend yourself before the meter goes down or you'll be downed. You also can't be healed before you have mended yourself or someone else has mended you. Most importantly, if Legion lands 4 fast attacks, the 5th fast attack will down someone in 1 hit. This does have to be chained to each separate survivor. For 1, do not group together. It means Legion gets their 5 hits faster and one of you is down faster. Don't focus on healing, it's not as important. And finally, try and do generators as fast as possible. The faster you pop the generators, the less chases you need to carry. The Plague is one of my least favourite killers, not because of how hard she is to counter, but because of how frankly gross she is. Her special ability is to throw up on survivors, making them infected, and makes the survivor in turn throw up occasionally when their sickness meter fills up, infecting fellow survivors and gens. Ew. The survivors will also lose 1 health state until they cleanse themselves at a sink if their meter fills up. She can also vomit Black Vomit, which is essentially a long range hit. My first advice is to keep your distance from her so you don't get vomited on at all. It's probably not worth healing earlier in the game too, so heal towards the final few generators to save time. The thing is, she can only activate her Black Vomit when drinking from a sink where someone has cleansed from. Ghostface is similar to the shape in that he's a stealth killer. This guy is super sneaky, so you need to look out and listen for him. As he gets stronger, the more he stalks you. When he fills your individual stalk meter, you will be exposed, meaning you will get downed in 1 hit. Essentially, just keep an eye on your surroundings and break the line of sight as much as possible. When exposed is activated, absolutely leg it. Try and body block for other survivors too, but be wary. Sometimes he'll maximize his stalking to 99%, meaning he'll tap his stalk and suddenly enter exposed. Demogorgon, formerly named Demodoggy by the fandom, digs tunnels that he can use to go to other tunnels. This is annoying as it means he can get around the map quickly and jump you. If you try to dig the tunnel away, he'll be alerted and teleport over there, so it's risky, although this is only when he's using his M2 ability. He can also dash far forward at an impressive speed. To counter him, try and remove his tunnels when he's in a chase so he's distracted. Don't run in a straight line either, or he'll pounce on you. Now, Oni. He's a little more complex than the others. Oni collects blood droplets when you are injured until you are healed, so it's in your best interest to heal as soon as possible, so you're not leaving blood everywhere. When he collects enough of these, he can initiate 1 of 2 attacks. A Demon Dash, which increases his speed, though it's harder to steer, or his Demon Strike, which does 3 hits that you can down a survivor, but will be deactivated if they hit a wall. To counter him, you need to heal as much as possible to minimize droplets being left. Try to use windows, as then he can't charge you and try to follow corners. Don't forget though, you can still hold a chase with him, as you can with every other killer until he unlocks his ability. Next is Deathslinger, otherwise known as Caleb. He has a gun that deals 1 health state and pulls the survivor towards him. He also has to rewind his gun, so try and go around corners so it's harder for him to shoot you. And if he does shoot you, block with a wall so he'll let go. He'll realise he can't be dragged towards you. If you jump through a window, duck after so you're harder to shoot at. Next is the Executioner, often referred to as Pyramid Head because his head is a pyramid. One of his attacks is placing the sword in the ground, and a tray will appear as you walk. If you step in it, you'll be affected by the status effect Torment, which teleports you into a cage instead of having to be carried to the hook once picked up. He can also create a line of spikes which damages 1 health state. Try and do fakeaways, where you quickly run and turn to the side and avoid getting hit by the Torment status effect. Next is Blight. His ability is really easy to understand. He stabs himself with a needle and sprints. However, before he can hit you, he has to run into something first to end the dash. Blight gets disorientated easily, so just try and weave around things, run around corners, and use your environment to your advantage. Now we have Mastermind. He's from the Resident Evil collab. Mastermind can jump over pallets, which is important. He can dash and attack you, making you infected and starting an infected meter. You'll only lose 1 health state per hit, however, if your infected meter is full, regardless of health state, he can just pick you up. You'll need to fix your infection with an item in the highlighted chests. To counter him, mind game him. Turning suddenly at a window is very useful as he might go through and you won't. Loop as much as you can, since he can't straight dash you then. Look for corners and don't be in an open space. Singularity can shoot biopods on the ground, or more likely at a survivor. The Singularity can see where its biopods are at all times and can teleport to any biopod on the survivor. The biopods on a wall can be used to aim another biopod at a survivor. You can counter this by using a 3D printer to print an EMP, which gets rid of nearby biopods. Teleporting to another survivor is a slipstream teleport, which triggers an ability for Singularity to not be hit by pallets. Look for symbols on the biopod. Green means it's idle, purple means it's charging a teleport, so get out of line of sight. White means biopod is on cooldown, and red means biopod is being disabled by an EMP. To counter him, move out of line of sight of biopods and structures or from Singularity. Alternatively, you can carry an EMP with you to disable a biopod near a generator, for example. Just note the killer can still see you through the biopod, he just can't do anything. Be careful during a chase as well. Remember, you can be teleported to during a chase. An important note too. His teleport is significantly slower when you're unhooking another survivor, so when it comes down to it, go for it. Down to the last 5. We have Good Guy now, who is usually referred to as Chucky. Chucky has an ability to go undetectable for 14 seconds, meaning you can't hear him, as well as create fake footfalls. When coming out of this mode, he can activate Slice and Dice, which means he has a speed boost and increased lunge time, meaning he can dash faster. He can also slide under pallets or climb under windows, only slightly slower than a survivor. To counter him, first look for the footprints. If they appear, he's hiding, so be careful. Listen for giggles too, because that means he's nearby. When he's charging, don't run in a straight line and try to go around corners. Finally, try and keep distance from him and try and avoid a simple loop, as he can go for windows too. Unknown is creepy looking and throws a UVX projectile. It shoots a bouncing projectile with a blast radius. If it hits you, you get 6% hindrance, which means you move slower, as well as have the weakened status effect when you are directly hit with the projectile, not splashed. If you are hit a second time, your weakened meter will increase up to 6 seconds of removal progress. To reduce it, you have to stare at the killer, and if you have only a little bit left of the weakened meter, you will get downed when hit again. He can also teleport to his hallucinations, of which he has 4 at a time. You need to get rid of the hallucinations, but try to do so when he's chasing someone, as if he teleports while you're getting rid of it, you will get weakened. Be wary, when dispelling a hallucination, you can't look around. Try not to be predictable and watch the killer's movement. And of course, don't run in a straight line. Go for larger loops, not small ones, as you're more likely to get hit otherwise. Just remember, he is very hard to combat. The Leech, yes, has 4 different abilities. 1, he can fly for 4 seconds, which means he can fly over pallets and windows. For flying, he can't hit you, so use that to your advantage. Next, you have Flight of the Damned, where 5 flying entities, which fly through obstacles and walls, and damage survivors by 1 health state. However, just crouch, as unless they have a special add-on, you can avoid it that way. If they have the add-on, run backwards and between the skulls as they separate. Next, we have Dispelling Sphere, a giant purple ball that moves in one direction. If it lands on you, any magic items on you will become deactivated, and also on Survivor HUD, the images on the side, you'll be able to see what type of magic item the survivor has. He will also know which direction you're in because the orb has travelled in that direction. Finally, we have the Magic Hand. This spawns a hand that lifts up a dropped pallet or pulls it down. When the killer picks it up, you just throw it down again. When they put it down, make a sharp turn as they'll try to lunge at you. Try to make a swaying movement. Mind game the killer. You can also try using an item. There are 6 items you can have, which all are quite self-explanatory. When you pick them up, for 1.5 seconds, you see the aura of the killer when it activates the matching ability. You'll either get the items as boots or gauntlets. You can equip up to 2 items at a time. Skyguard reveals the aura of the killer when flying and extends your aura reading ability by 0.25 seconds. Night Watch reveals a flying entity, aka the Flying Skulls. The Archivist makes a Dispelling Sphere visible. The Interloper reveals aura of pallet affected by the Mage Hand. You can get the Hand of Vecna, which is rare to spawn. When you rush into a locker, you'll be teleported to a different locker. Eye of Vecna is also rare, and when you rush into a locker, your aura, scratch marks, blood pool, and grunts of pain are all silent and invisible. You also get 25% haste for 12 seconds. It does, however, trigger a loud noise notification. We then have Dark Lord, who has 3 forms. The first is his vampire form, which can cast a Hellfire spell, which means there is a line of fire pillars. The next form is Wolf form. He is at default speed and increases the visibility of blood pools and scratch marks. He can collect scent orbs left by survivors, which gives him 4.35% haste, which is essentially a speed boost and reduces the cooldown of his pounce attack. A pounce attack is a longer lunge. He will always pounce twice unless the first pounce hits a survivor. If they pounce against a pallet or breakable wall, then they will break it. Finally, you have his bat form. His movement speed is increased. He becomes undetectable but cannot hit survivors or interact with them. The survivors will hit a lullaby within 48 meters. He can teleport to any vault locations within 34 meters and will ignore drop pallets and windows. Survivors are invisible when he's in this form, but footsteps are louder and he can see scratch marks. If you hear the lullaby and you think he's coming near you, hide, don't run. Remember, he can't see you. A general tip is to keep running for his other forms and dodge to the sides for the fireball. When he pounces, move to the side. We then have the penultimate Houndmaster. She has a dog with her and she can always see its aura. The dog has two functions, chase and search. The dog will run in a straight line for chase and is very fast. You can change the dog's direction while he's running. If the dog grabs a survivor, they'll be hindered and incapacitated, and the survivor will be dragged towards the killer for 8 seconds. It also blocks the exit gate for the survivor in the endgame. The Houndmaster can send the dog on a path to track someone within a certain radius. Houndmaster also gets a movement speed bonus when travelling on this path. Survivors within this radius trigger Hound Sense. If a survivor is hit with this effect, they will also get Deep Wound. If the survivor doesn't mend themselves or someone else mend them within 20 seconds, they will be downed. If the survivor is downed, their grunts of pain are louder and their pools of blood are larger. To counter her, try and create space like you would for a sniper killer. Stay away from structures as Snug the dog will turn 90 degrees at corners. Try and get hit by Snug at upright pallets as you can free yourself by hitting Snug with the pallet. She is hard to fight, so try and pay attention to Snug and do your best to not get caught. Finally, we have our newest killer, the Ghoul, from the Tokyo Ghoul chapter. The Ghoul's special power is his tentacles, in which he can go forward very quickly and vault windows. This means he is fast and hard to avoid. The best strategy when countering him is to go for the tight loop, as he can only go directly forward in his jumps, as well as chaining windows to try and get past him. Also, don't drop pallets unless his power is on the cooldown, as he can just jump over it. Friendly reminder, this guy is new and insanely hard to loop, even for experienced players, so don't beat yourself up over it. First is items. Ones like toolbox and medkits aren't really compatible other than stopping their use when players are healing each other or rushing a generator. If the survivor is using a toolbox to sabotage hooks, keep an eye out when you're carrying the survivor. If you see said survivor running straight in the direction of the hook, don't go to that hook and change direction. Flashlight is the other very annoying thing to counter. The best thing to do is 1. Try to check the surrounding area for other survivors before picking someone up, and 2. Try to look away as fast as you can if you see a beam. Hillbilly also has a useful perk, whilst you get used to this, called Lightborn, in which your vision is dimmed a bit, but you aren't stunned by blinding. Now for perks to counter. For this episode, I asked for some help from the Dead by Daylight subreddit members to find out which perks are most annoying for them and which ones directly affect you. I will link the post in the comments, but for now, thank you to u/average evade enjoyer, u/masks and mirrors, and u/cosmofoil. Fox? Yes. The first perk is Boil Over. This perk is very annoying as it increases the survivor struggle effects by 60/70/80% respectively, so they're more likely to wriggle out. If someone has this, keep an eye on your surroundings. It's not horrifically bad, but enough that if you make too many mistakes, like switching hook or having to place them down, it's a lot more inconvenient. Next is No Mither. Now, this perk on its own isn't the strongest, but when used in combination with other perks, it can be quite strong. This perk decreases the grunts of pains from a survivor, making it a lot harder for you to find them as you're less reliant on audio cues. This perk can also increase the survivor's recovery speed and unlock self-recovery, meaning that the survivor can heal themselves off the ground. They will, however, suffer from broken, meaning they can't heal themselves from injured. When a survivor is running this perk, you need to keep an eye out and watch for survivors, and importantly, don't lose track of your downed survivor. Don't trust they'll stay on the ground either. Try and get them hooked. Now, Boiled Over and No Mither are often run together to create a very slippery build. Don't get thrown off. Focus, keep your eyes peeled, and get to those hooks as fast as possible. Next is Decisive Strike. This perk activates after someone has unhooked the survivor or they've unhooked themselves. It allows the survivor to wriggle out if they hit a skill check successfully. To combat this, don't go after the person that got unhooked. Go for their rescuer or someone else. You might get lucky and the Decisive Strike timer runs out by the time you down them, but it's often not worth it. Next is Resilience. This increases the action speed of survivors when injured by 3/6/9% respectively. This perk is usually stacked with other perks such as Deja Vu, so watch to see if the speed of generators is quite swift. Watch them vault through windows too. If they're going faster than you'd expect, be wary what's happening, but also be wary that there's a good chance they have a build where they'll speed through things. Now we have For the People, which activates when you're healthy and healing another player without a medkit and the active ability button is pressed. If the survivor was injured, they'll instantly go to full health. If they were downed, they'll instantly go to injured instead. The survivor, however, will become injured with the broken status effect for 80/70/60 seconds respectively, so cannot be healed during this time period. This survivor will also become the obsession. Your best bit in this situation, grab that survivor and pick them up. Otherwise, another survivor will get them straight up and ready to run again. If you can, get the For the People survivor out to eliminate the issue together, or at least in 1 or 2 hook states so they're less likely to come to the rescue. We're Gonna Live Forever is a perk that is often used with For the People. When you're healing another dying survivor, you'll get a 100% healing speed bonus. But most importantly, any dying survivor you heal back to injured gains their endurance status effect for 6/8/10 seconds respectively. Remember, endurance allows the survivor to be hit and receive deep wound instead of being downed, aka the survivor has to mend themselves before a timer runs out but won't get downed. Essentially, it means that your down survivor can suddenly be a gone survivor, which is really annoying if they're on the last hook, for example. To counter this, stop the healing before it's completed or take down the healer. Otherwise, you have to wait for endurance to run out. Now, to combat both of them, you're going to have some difficulty. First, try and keep the survivor injured, as For the People only activates when the survivor has full health. Otherwise, pick those survivors up as quickly as you can so the pesky survivor does not grab them. Next is Finesse. This perk activates when the survivor fast vaults when healthy. The survivor will gain a 20% fast vault speed with a cooldown of 40/35/30 seconds respectively, so it can likely be used multiple times in a chase. Just watch to see if they're vaulting quickly, and if so, be wary of the windows and don't be surprised when they noom away. Next is Off the Record. This perk activates after being unhooked or unhooking yourself for 60/70/80 seconds respectively. 1. Your aura is not visible to the killer regardless of their perks. 2. Grunts of pain are completely suppressed. And finally, they gain the endurance status effect. Note, endurance is cancelled when the survivor does a conspicuous action, which essentially is any action you complete except entering a locker or vaulting. This perk is cancelled once the exit gates are powered, aka all gens are done. Now, you can still see things such as scratch marks, so try and follow these. Get the survivor out fairly early if you can, so they're not annoying you later. Once they're unhooked, hit them once and leave them. You can deal with them later. Now we have Head On. You won't come across this build often, though it's frequently in troll builds. Essentially, after a survivor has been locked in a locker for 3 seconds, this perk activates. When they rush out of the locker, the killer, if close enough, will be stunned for 3 seconds. It does cause exhausted for 60/50/40 seconds respectively, so ideally it won't be used with Lithe or Sprint Burst. Basically, if you fall for it once or twice, don't worry, but be cautious for the next time. Just walk away or bait the survivor out. Finally, we have Deception. Basically, when a survivor runs past a locker and presses a button, the doors of the locker will slam, as if they'd rushed in there, when they continue running. Scratch marks and pools of blood will be suppressed too, so look like the survivor has run into the locker, buying precious seconds. This perk is more annoying than anything. Just look carefully. Did you see the survivor actually enter? And if you fall for it once, be more cautious the second time. Keep an ear out. Can you really hear them in there? We're now going to go over some things to look out for as a killer. 1. If the generator pops fairly fast, the generator rushing you. This likely means survivors are working together to get the generators done quickly so they can get out before you can do much. Separate the survivors. And 2. Body blocking. Survivors will try to take the hit for other survivors to give some bonus, like saving them from being downed or stopping you getting some kind of bonus related to your killer. Essentially, knock them down, leave them on the ground, and get the one you are after.
We'll be focusing on perks today, as the items video went fairly thoroughly through which items work, and honestly, the item you use completely depends on your playstyle. First, we're going to explore my 2 absolute favourites that I run myself, Winners of Opportunity and Leaf. Winners of Opportunity from Kate is pretty easy to understand. Essentially, you'll see nearby windows, pallets, and breakable walls highlighted in yellow within 24/28/32 meters respectively. It was mildly overwhelming for me at first, but you'll soon adjust and be significantly better in chases. We then have Leaf from Feng Min. When fast vaulting over a pallet, you'll gain a 50% sprint boost for 3 seconds. This does, however, cause exhausted for 60/50/40% respectively. Essentially, if you're in a chase or caught off guard, this is insanely useful as it creates that little bit of extra distance you need. Now, let's expand our horizons a bit. Borrowed Time from Bill is a good perk to run teamwork-wise. When you have unhooked someone, they gain a 10-second haste bonus, so they're faster for 10 seconds, and 6/8/10 second boost in their endurance. This perk is handy to give the escaping survivor that extra little boost to get them away. Next is Decisive Strike from Lori. This perk activates when you have been unhooked or unhooked yourself. It unlocks a skill check when being grabbed for 40/50/60 seconds, where if you succeed, the killer will drop you and be stunned for a few seconds. This is super useful against tunneling and killers who are harsh. Next, you have Yui, who has 3 useful perks, meaning she's good to level up. Her first perk is Any Means Necessary. She can press the active ability button to pick up a pallet again, which means you can restart loops and replace god pallets. It takes 6/5/4 seconds respectively to do so time it well. We also have Breakout from her. This perk specifically activates when you are within 5 meters of a survivor being carried by the killer. She gains a 5/6/7% haste speed boost and increases the survivor's wriggling by 25%, meaning you can help your fellow survivors get out. This is perfect for a sabotage build in which you try and stop them before they reach the hook. Finally, she has Lucky Break. This perk activates when you are injured. Your pools of blood and scratch marks will be suppressed for 40/50/60 seconds. Per second you spend healing someone else, you will gain 1 second back, meaning if you're trying to escape a chase or hide from the killer, then this will be very handy. Now we have Nia's Balanced Landing. This reduces the stagger when you drop by 75%, all sounds are suppressed when you land, and you gain 50% haste for 3 seconds. However, you'll be exhausted for 60/50/40 seconds respectively, so this cannot be run at the same time as Leaf or Sprint Burst. This is very useful for maps with houses, such as Haddonfield, as you can immediately get an advantage. Now we have Dwight's Bond. This perk is useful to run when you're solo queuing, as it shows you survivors within 20/28/36 meters. It means you can see where your other survivors are, therefore know if someone is being chased near you or leading the killer towards you. Distortion is a handy perk belonging to Jeff. You start the match with 1 token. Whenever a killer uses an aura reading ability to try and find your location, the token will be used up and the perk will be activated for 8/10/12 seconds. Your aura will not be able to be read from the killer and suppresses scratch marks completely, which is very useful not only for the start of the game, but also for intense situations where you are the last survivor, even when there's a very few of you. You gain a token every 30 seconds spent in the chase, for a maximum of 2 tokens. Now we have Deja Vu. We have gone over this perk before, but we'll run through it quickly again. Basically, you can see the 3 closest generators to you, and when you work on these generators, your repair speed will increase by 4/5/6% respectively. This perk is useful for getting generators done quickly, meaning the killer has less time to chase you or use his perks. Botany Knowledge is a useful perk from Claudette for healing when you're in a solo queue. Your healing speed is increased by 30/40/50% respectively, but medkits are reduced in their effectiveness by 20% when used on yourself. This perk should be run along Self-Care as it's good for solo queuing. Self-Care also belongs to Claudette, which allows you to unlock Self-Care and gives you a 25/30/35% faster than the original healing speed, meaning when the 2 perks are run together, you can heal yourself quickly so you don't have to rely on other survivors. We have 2 more perks now. First is Sangmin's Alert. I run this one myself as it's a useful information perk. This perk activates when a killer performs the break or damage action, for example when the killer breaks a pallet. It gives you an idea of where the killer is, including if the killer is in a chase. Finally, we have Reassurance from Rebecca Chambers. This perk activates when you press the ability button within 6 meters of another hook survivor. This pauses their sacrifice, their timer, for 20/25/30 seconds respectively. This also pauses skill checks if the survivor is on the second stage. This buys you more time, so in a tight situation, you can reassure them until you left the chase, for example, or someone else saves them. Now, remember, this is by no means an extensive list, and there are other perks that may serve you better, but these perks will allow you to be a better survivor and begin to develop your playing style more, whether you're more of a generator rushing player or a sneaky sabotaging one. Now, for this one, we are going to go over general perks you can use that are really good to use regardless of killer. We won't be going over specific killer builds today, but there are plenty of those online if you want to really hone in on a specific killer. We'll be using some sources again, same as last episode, so we get the community's opinion. And also like last time, the links will be found in the comments. Now, the number 1 perk that many killers seem to agree on is Scourge Hook Pain Resonance from the artist. At the start of the trial, 4 hooks will activate as Scourge Hooks. These will be highlighted in white rather than yellow. You can also start the trial with 4 tokens. When a survivor is placed on a Scourge Hook, you consume 1 token. The generator with the most progress will explode and regress by 10/15/20% respectively. Normal generator regression will apply afterwards, and all survivors repairing the exploded generator will scream, but not reveal the location. This perk helps you massively with generator progress. Next is Corrupt Intervention from the Plague. This perk blocks the 3 farthest generators from you for 80/100/120 seconds. This perk will force survivors to come closer to you at the start, as well as stop progress on these 3 gens for a while. It increases your chance of 3genning survivors, but I'll explain what 3genning is in the Advanced Strategies episode. Just know that it's to your advantage. Next is Save the Best for Last from the Shape. This ability gains a token for every non-obsession survivor you hit, to a maximum of 6/7/8 tokens respectively.
It reduces the cooldown of successful attacks by 40%.
Your basic attack cooldown is reduced by 4%, which is stackable to maximum 24/28/32%. However, if you hit your obsession, you lose 2 tokens. When the obsession is sacrificed or killed, your tokens will completely reset, so you need to keep an eye on who you're knocking out. This perk is handy as you won't lose people as easily in a chase, and you can get survivors down and out faster. Next is Unrelenting, a general perk. This perk is good if you're worried you won't always hit your shots. Unrelenting reduces the cooldown of missed basic attacks by 20/25/30% respectively. It's not the most useful perk against others, however when you're improving, it is a great buff. Next is Pop Goes the Weasel from Clown. This activates after you hook a survivor for 35/40/45 seconds respectively. If you damage a generator whilst this is active, the generator will lose 20% progress instantly. This can only be done once per hooking survivor. If you know what you're doing, you can delay the survivors significantly, as 2 survivors will be out of action so they can be hooked or rescued, when one will be repairing the lost generator progress. Next is Nowhere to Hide from the Night. This perk activates when you kick a generator. You'll be able to see survivors within 24 meters for 3/4/5 seconds, meaning if someone is hiding near the generator, you'll find them right away, wasting less time finding them. Next, we have Grim Embrace, another artist perk. You gain 1 token by hooking of a survivor for this, and it activates once you're 16 meters away from the hook. 1 to 3 tokens means all generators were blocked for 6/8/10 seconds. Once you have 4 tokens, all generators will be blocked for 40 seconds, and the aura of the obsession is revealed for 6 seconds. This perk requires focus and is better for the endgame, but once it's activated, 40 seconds is a very nice amount of time where survivors will be running or hiding. Next is Surge from Demogorgon, or the fondly named Demodoggy, also because it's hard for me to say. This perk is very powerful because every time you send a survivor into the dying state with a basic attack, all generators within 32 meters will explode and regress. Each generator is also automatically regressed by 6/7/8% respectively. This perk significantly reduces the speed at which generators are completed, and if you're fast acting, that's a lot of explosions. Next is Hex Plaything. This perk is a little more complex. It activates when a survivor is hooked for the first time, then a random totem will be hexed. Until the totem is cleansed, the survivor will suffer from the cursed. This means you're infected for now, or oblivious. This means you can't see or hear the killer's terror radius at all. They can, however, still hear chase music. For the first 90 seconds, only the cursed survivor can find their hex totem. The aura of their totem can be seen within 24/20/16 meters respectively. This makes it a lot easier to find the survivor and also wastes a lot of time, as they'll have to search for the totem before doing anything else, such as decoding the generator. Now we have Dead Man's Switch from Deaflexis. This perk is very annoying for survivors and very useful for you. When the first survivor lets go of the generator, it'll be blocked for 40/45/50 seconds respectively and will have a white outline. This perk can only be reactivated once the last generator has been unlocked, meaning the only limits it has is the cooldown of an active generator being sorted. It's hard to combat and will significantly reduce generator progress, at least until the survivors know what is going on. Next is Barbecue and Chili from the Cannibal. After hooking a survivor, all other survivors within 60/50/40 meters of the hook will have their aura revealed for 5 seconds. This means you can get straight into another chase, reducing the time spent finding survivors and scaring away rescuers camping nearby. Then we have Merciless Storm from Unreal. This triggers when a generator reaches 90%. Survivors are faced with frequent skill checks that are very easy to miss, and if the survivor fails, not only will the generator blow up, giving a loud noise notification, the generator will be blocked for 16/18/20 seconds respectively. Not only does it tell you where survivors are, it delays the speed at which generators can be completed. We're going to finish this off with 2 aggression perks. The first is Trix's Starstruck. While carrying Survivor, this perk activates. Survivors within your terror radius will suffer from exposed, immediately helping you with flashlight attacks and body blockers. This also lasts for 26/28/30 seconds respectively, meaning if you're fast, you can get someone else down fairly quickly. The cooldown is 60 seconds once you put the survivor down, so if you use it well, you can get survivors downed and quickly. Finally, we have the good guy, Chucky's perk. friends till the end. When you hook someone who is not the obsession's aura is revealed for 6/8/10 seconds respectively, and they suffer from exposed for 20 seconds, which means if luck is on your side, that's a very fast down. If you hook the obsession instead, a random survivor will scream and become the new obsession. It means you can get a move on quite quickly to down them too. Now, there are 39 maps in total within the game, so we won't be going over every map in detail, as that's a lot for you guys to try and memorize. Instead, we're going to go into map sizes, indoor versus outdoor maps, loop tiles, and finally, how to use the maps to play your best game. First, map sizes. Maps tend to have a range of sizes, with Mother's Dwelling 2 being the largest and Treatment Theatre being the smallest. In general, smaller maps tend to be harder for survivors as the killer will always be close to you. However, these small maps can be used to your advantage. Dead Dog Saloon is one of the smallest, but it has lots of buildings around, giving you lots of tiles to hold a chase in. However, a larger map like Colburn Farm is very open and often lends itself to killers such as Nurse because they can travel very far. On this note, one of the most important things to do when you're playing is to be wary of your environment. Windows of Opportunity helps with this, as it will show you places you can vault and use pallets. If the killer is going to come for you, can you get away? Windows and pallets can create that distance you need, so you need to know where they are. For example, if you're doing a generator, look around as you do it and be ready to run. When it comes to the map, it's good to be orientated. Every map will usually have a killer shack. Often, players working as a team will say that Killer Shack is north, so you can tell each other where you are. The Killer Shack has 2 doors, one of which will have a pallet as well as a window. Sometimes the basement will spawn in here too, so we'll go over basements in a minute. For this reason, the Killer Shack is one of the best, if not the best places to loop. It requires mind gaming from both parties for it to work. For survivors, you have to watch the killer's movements and use it to your advantage. Are they waiting outside the window? Don't go out there yet. Are they thinking you're going to run to the other door? Jump through the window. The killers, watch their movement. Are they running in one pattern? Then cut them off. It's annoying for killers, but it's not undefeatable. If you can, get that pallet out of the way too as the killer and avoid it as a survivor. If you use it right, it buys a lot of time. Sometimes a generator or chest will spawn in there, but not always. Each map will usually have a main building, which is the most distinctive. This building usually has some places to hold a chase in, often having windows and pallets at least, and often breakable walls. Now, the basement will spawn at the killer shack or near the main building. The basement, depending on the killer, can be very killer-sided. For example, if Trapper puts traps on the stairs, you can't get down. The center of the basement has 4 hooks, meaning technically all 4 survivors could be hooked at once. There are also 4 lockers, meaning all 4 survivors could hide here if they so wished. You must be quick when you're rescuing from the basement, as there's only one entrance, meaning there is one thin entrance corridor with the stairs here. If you get caught, it's pretty much a guaranteed hit, and if you don't time it right, whoever you just rescued is going straight back on the hook. One small note of the basement: if you see the cannibal or Bubba not doing anything for the match, then it's a protect the box Bubba. He'll leave you alone unless you try and touch his box, the chest. Maps can have 3 different types: indoor only, safe for a small courtyard of the exit gate; outdoor only, safe for the main building and killer shack; and finally, mixed indoor and outdoor. They all have their own advantages. Indoor maps often have lots of sharp corners to turn around and hide from the killer, but it can also be more disorientating and harder to find your fellow survivors. It is also harder for killers to teleport around the map, as there are a lot of more obstacles to go through. It's easier to leave survivors here. It's terrible for killers like Hillbilly too, since you'll just be rushing into things all the time. Outdoor maps are difficult in that survivors are much more visible to the killers. Survivors can find each other easier at least, and have a much more clear view on the killer, so you can either keep your distance or take over the chase. However, for characters like Huntress and the Cannibal, they now have a significantly easier time and can zoom across the map much faster. Killers can find you easier too, which means you have to become more wary and be a little more stealthy than usual. If you're a new main killer, you're in trouble, but if you're a stealth killer, this is great for you. Survivors, watch your back. Indoor-outdoor maps are harder to tackle, except the outdoor maps tend to have more obstacles and walls, such as the Nostromo wreckage, in which the outside is much more walled. It is a large map, and it's harder for the killer to find you, so it's generally considered survivor-sided. Take all of these into consideration when it comes to starting a round. Finally, we're now going into looping tiles. A looping tile is a small area in which you can loop the killer. It's important for both survivors and killers to understand this. Usually, a loop contains 2 of either windows, pallets, doors, or both. The best loops will feature windows, as you can get through it quickly without the killer getting to you. Ideally, you want to find 2 tiles near each other or at least know where one is nearby. A pallet can help you immensely in a loop, but majority of the time, once it's down, so unless you have a great loop, go to the next tile. Again, when you're doing generators, take note of your environment. Try and see where tiles are, as it can be advantageous to you on a chase. Try and consider the killers too. For example, you run a chase as Hillbilly differently, jumping through windows and rounding killers, compared to someone like Whisker who can jump through windows. To loop, make pathways in your head and follow them. Looping means going round in a loop, a specific pattern, so follow it and double check and retrace your steps only when the killer is trying to trick you. Just keep an eye behind you and peek around corners. When it comes to walls, there are 2 distinctive ones, T-walls and L-walls. The name refers to the shape of a wall, so a T-wall is 2 walls connected in a T shape, and an L-wall is an L shape. Often, your favourite comes down to preference. There's often a window in these 2, which gives you the advantage that you can go either side. The only issue with the T-wall is it's much harder to see if the killer is hiding around the other side since your video is restricted. A pair of T-walls is great for a chase. If someone is being chased, get that generator done. Even if the killer is nearby, as long as you know where looping tiles are, you can hold the generator until the killer really pushes you. Often, if the killer is distracted with chasing their victim, they won't be that interested in you, and if they are, just get ready to run, and if you can, try to figure out who the killer is so you know how to counter them. Another strategy is body blocking on the way to the hook. Now, this strategy isn't really worth it if the hook is close to the killer, but if there's some distance, blocking the killer with your body and taking a hit can buy enough time for your fellow survivor to wriggle out. Only do this strategy when you're healthy too, as there's no point being downed yourself. You can also trade in very tight situations. This isn't always a solution and is only for specific situations. If someone is about to die if they're not rescued and there's no one else nearby, then rescue them regardless of yourself being downed. As long as you're on death hook, of course. This can buy you more time and keep survivors alive. 99ing is a term you'll hear a lot. Essentially, this is where you bring a generator to almost completion so you can tap it, which means you interact with it and it's done. For the exit gate, it has to be majority full with 3 lights on the gate being activated. Once the exit gate is open, you have a time limit, so it's better to unhook a fellow unhooked survivor and then run for it. It buys you time and increases the chance of more survivors getting out. 99ing the gen is similar in that it gives you a chance to get everyone off the hook and ready for the endgame before it starts. Another strategy is to go to a different gen than the one you spawn next to. Killers will often patrol the gens to find you at the start of the match, so they'll hopefully be in a chase or pass your gen by the time you have found the next generator. Remember, when the killer is near you, he might not always know where you are. Don't immediately run away, as you'll definitely give yourself away. Often, killers won't actually see until you scramble away, and then they'll catch you. Another thing to remember is that killers have a much narrower view than the survivors do, which means if you don't run directly in front of them, it's harder for them to see you. It means you can sometimes get away from the killer without them noticing you, or you can break a chase this way by sneaking away, if you get lucky. Faking going through windows helps you as a survivor, especially the killers that can jump through windows. When the killer is aiming to hit the survivor where you are, or preparing to jump through it, make a sharp turn so that the killer either hits the window or jumps through it, buying you precious time. Another strategy is to hug the walls. This means running so that your head is literally in the walls. Killers take longer to turn corners, which means you're shaving off a second or 2 that can be the difference between being downed or not. Next, sometimes it is not worth it to pull down the pallet, especially when killers such as Demi-Doggy are after you. The animation of pulling the pallet down delays you, therefore you lose time in a chase. For example, you can be pulling the pallet down and get snapped as you do it. Finally, flashlight and pallet saves. Both of these are super useful and not hard to do once you know what you're doing. For a flashlight save, you need to hide nearby and make sure the killer doesn't know where you are. As soon as they start the picking up animation, you need to shine the flashlight right at their eyes. By the time the survivor is properly in their arms, the flashlight beam has to narrow. For a pallet save, the killer simply needs to be picking up or holding the survivor. Often, fellow survivors will crawl over to a pallet if they get the chance. Pull the pallet down and the killer will be stunned, freeing the survivor back to an injured state and buying you more time. Next, we have killers. First, if you're holding a chase for too long, give up. If you're really struggling to catch them, then leave them for now. You're giving free generator time essentially, so it's better to knock out some less experienced players first. Apply pressure too. Survivors tend to become desperate, so every down is important. When it comes to bully squads, spam mouse button to hit when you are between the pallet as it messes with the timing. It nudges you forward and gets you out of the way. It will stop survivors from palleting you right away. When you go to pick someone up, and if you suspect someone is there, pretend to pick up and then stop. Often, the survivor will appear, trying to blind you and revealing their position. This means you'll be able to pick them up and get that hook. You need to consider as well that your viewing range is smaller than that of the survivors. They will try and use that to your advantage. Keep an eye on your sides and watch the movements. They're likely trying to mind game you, so you need to follow the movement patterns and try to predict their movement. Try and keep an eye on your environment. If you see a really good loop tile, you think that they can probably run you for a while, try and force them out of it. Be wary of where these loops are too, so you can try and force a survivor away from it if you can. Similar to survivors, you need to try and be close to walls. If you're walking down the middle of the corridor until the survivor turns a corner, it'll take you a lot longer to cross that distance. A few seconds is absolutely crucial. Something that is incredibly important is to know your killer. See how other people play them and use their abilities and what builds they use. Experience is the best way to get better as a killer or survivor, and there are plenty others that have a lot more experience. There's always more to learn. 3-genning survivors can give you an advantage. It's not as powerful as before, but if it happens an accident, it's all for the better. 3-gen is when 3 generators are the last in a small area and one needs to be completed. It's much faster for you to travel between them, meaning you can down them pretty quickly, and the survivors are forced to go for these generators. It's not your first priority, but if you want to do it, try and keep survivors away from 3 generators in a small area for the match. Remember, this will only work on newer survivors. And finally,
Survivors, make sure you work with your teammates. Don't throw others under the bus. You're in this match together. You're getting downed no matter what, and you'll always get those annoying killers. Don't let it get to you. Killers, you don't have to get all the survivors, and don't stick with that annoying survivor. It's okay to not be able to catch them all, and it's okay to go up a chase. At the end of the day, Dead by Daylight is a game to enjoy. You'll always get blood points no matter what. There's no need to be toxic. You'll have moments that make you laugh, moments that make you want to quit forever. But these are all experiences. The best way to learn is to play after all. I really hope you were able to learn a lot from this, and I hope that it's valuable to you. Of course, I've done my best, but my research is limited. There are lots of wonderful content creators in the community who can give you much more detailed information than I can. To finish this off, I'm going to play a game for you. I've played a lot, I've watched people play, I've played with friends. I want to show you that this game isn't always going to go your way, and there's always time to learn. Let's go.
Okay, so I'm still setting up, but I completely forgot, I had a complete troll build. I was loading on, thinking, okay, yeah, I'm going to show them my build, see what I kind of do. Nope. So, what I like to run is I quite like to run a med kit, but also I'm really weird about saving as much stuff as possible. So I'm going to add stuff. I'm going to run the med kit, and I'm going to run it with stuff that increases healing speed and add its charge and increase healing speed. Screech Cobbler, this was the previous anniversary event. Oh, also, look, I really hate they changed the rarity looks. That really winds me up. Okay, so what I normally run is a Leaf. And I run Alert. And I run Windows. I genuinely recommend that for most players because it's just so handy. I forgot what else I run. Oh, wait, hang on. Off the record, I guess. I always tend to change the 4th one in my build because because the thing is I don't really have a set build for my 4th one because I always run Leaf. You know I struggle with that. I always run that because the sprint burst you get in a chase is really valuable. I also always run Windows because just having the ability to kind of see where you need to go is, I can't emphasize that enough. Then I run Alert because it just gives you an idea of where the killer is, because when they break stuff, you see where they are. I've explained this. So, this is the most important rule, guys. You need to say good luck and have good sportsmanship. And also, you can have a nice drippy skin, like my drip here. So yeah, when you load in, take a note of the offerings. So that's mine. And it tells you the map is. So always when you load in, check what it says, because it will often tell you your map or where you're going. If you can't see one, it is likely a Mori
or I believe it affects map placement. So be careful, because what Mori does, I forgot to explain this as well, so I'll just cover it all here. What a Mori does is that when you're on the floor, you can be killed, like just off the bat. And this is Dead Dog Saloon. So as I told you guys, this is one of the smallest maps, so it's the one most inconvenient. There is a gen there. Sable's going straight on that, but I don't know if I want to go straight on that. I don't really want to cross through the center though, because Dead Dog Saloon going through the center means you're like crazy exposed. Here we go. Okay, so as you can see, they're nearby. I don't know what killer it is yet, so I have to be a bit more cautious. Huntress. Okay, so she's a sniper killer. So, oh, has she seen me? Okay, she hasn't seen me, but I'm gonna go on the opposite side of the map just because I don't want to be dealing with her right away. Yeah, the thing is, the crouch timings are really good, but I always find them hard to do somehow. Do I want to hop in the gen in the middle? No, I'll wait till she's in a chase of someone. We're gonna run over to Sable. We are, in fact, not going to run over to Sable. I should have been walking. Oh, jeez! Okay! So yeah, here's a looping tile. We're gonna loop her over here. And that was not a fast vault, so that was really stupid. We're creating a bit of distance here, as you can see. We're going to go up here. I don't have balanced landing, so this was a stupid idea. She didn't see where I went, by the looks of it. Or she's trying to snipe me. Okay, no, she's going after that gen, so we're going to now leave and find a different generator. Nope! Okay, she knew where I was the whole time. Okay. Okay. So typically you don't want to be too cautious. I've kind of been like a little bit more cautious. This is an interesting strategy. So typically you don't go and break through all of these. This is quite unusual. Oh, okay, we're gonna get... Oh yeah, get me up, get me up. Okay. So yeah, typically you don't go through it and break all the walls. So I'm kind of interested in what she's going for. Or she might be a friendly killer. Where is she? No, she's chasing someone. Okay. So again, and as I'm down, I'm taking like a look at my surroundings. Like there's a loop tile. There's not a great one there. There's a really good loop tile over there. I really messed up because I started panicking about her hitting me. And that's like the biggest thing. Oh, yeah. Crouch to communicate. You see it crouching back this. Right. Can we get this gem? I think it might be too exposed. Like a map like this with Huntress is really inconvenient because she has quite like an open space, which means she can get a lot of easy hits. She's down over there. Okay, she's going to the right, so she might be coming over here. Again, breaking the walls. I have not seen this as a strategy before, so I'm mildly intrigued. The thing is, it doesn't work to her advantage. So I assume she's a new killer because if you're breaking all the walls early on, you're giving survivors like an extra way out. So I'm not quite sure why she's doing that. Okay, we're getting these two gens done. She's slugging or friendly? I genuinely am confused what she's trying to go for this. Okay. So we're going to get this gen done. Okay, she's going after the other gem. So, yeah, the thing is, she's focusing a lot on the walls. So if she's not friendly, then she's losing out a big advantage here. But, yeah, I'm keeping an eye on her the whole time. Keeping an eye on Sable up there, too. We've won, pretty much, as long as we can get this exit gate. Although, the last thing the Huntress can do here is go for the exit gates because she has got quite a big range. So she can literally stand all the way over there and potentially get a snipe. Now, Sable's going for this, but often what you want to do if a killer is like... I don't want to say a bit more skilled, but maybe more practice in Huntress if she's not going friendly. Often they will come and patrol the gate, so you need to hide nearby. Yeah, because she's coming. Oh, she's friendly? Oh, okay. Ah, friendly. Ah, okay. Yeah, so she was friendly, but which is actually quite good for doing a demonstration. But kind of what you want to do when you're running from here to here, you want to hide nearby when the killer's nearby. But yeah, so that was the tutorial. That was the guide. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Well, not enjoyed, but like I got educated because there's a lot of things I forgot to speak about that I was able to speak about through this match. And yeah, obviously, see your objectives, survival, altruism, boldness. We explained these, but it also does give you a small reminder there. Blood point bonus has gone up. Yeah, the blood point, maximum blood points used to be lower, but yeah. That's your tier, this is your level. And yeah, that is pretty much it. I hope you guys have learnt a lot from this tutorial. I really enjoyed doing it. It took a lot of hard work. It took quite a few months. So yeah, I was glad to do it in the end. But yeah, see you and thank you for joining me.